Why has my Google Chrome decided that it wants to use Yahoo? I'm literally using Google. I'm literally using Google. Why does it do this to me constantly? I don't
get why Google does that once in a while.
Yeah, I don't either. Google.
It's like, oh, I'm Google, but I'm not.
I keep deleting it. Like, even from my searches. Like, search engine, what search engine might you want to use? Is Google your default one? I delete all of the other ones so that I never see.
And then they come back.
And then they come back.
Somehow, even though you never go on there.
I don't know what movie to sell.
I know what I'm
Because
selling.
all I've watched is Ghostbusters.
Because
I'm not... I know what I can sell, I know it.
Fuck you, Simon. You're getting a slap in Rochdale.
Oh, yeah. What's this thing for?
Oh, it's for... There's a marathon happening around where I live.
Okay.
And they just need a runner for it.
Shut the fuck up.
No, I didn't even mean to do that.
That is actually the worst joke I've ever heard.
No, I didn't mean to do that. I really didn't mean to do that.
You cannot tell us that was not intentional.
I have
So you're gonna be like
this.
handing out water bottles and stuff. Is that?
No.
You've been planning this for 3 days. 3 days.
No. I swear I didn't mean for that to be come out like that.
Oh Jesus Christ!
I used my Ghostbusters pun last time. Can I use it again?
You could say,
sure.
who are you gonna call? Not Ghostbusters because they're not real, but you can call the Fill Me In podcast. Don't make that face. Oh. I'm not looking. You say what you want, then I'll introduce myself when I'm ready.
I think that's a good enough intro, to be honest. I'm Xander, host of the Filmian podcast.
No.
With me this week, we've got a couple of spectres, ghouls, and ghosts. We have Joe.
Hi.
And we've got Siwan.
Hi.
Caught on tape. Caught in 4K but audio format.
Yeah. This week we're going to look at the Ghostbusters franchise. We're going to look at all 4 movies spanning 30 years. Nearly 40 now. Good God.
Old.
And we're going to look at those and see if they hold up. It should be some good fun. Before we do, though, we're going to do a quick Tell Me Moan section. So who wants to go first and tell me moan?
Tell me moan, tell me sweet little moan. I can go.
Yes, please. And I like the rendition.
Okay. Thanks. Basically, right, we were having dinner earlier, and we had chicken wraps, right?
Oh, how the other
Solid
half
My dad
dinner.
were having, yeah. Me and my dad were having chicken wraps, and basically there was an unequal amount of wraps. So obviously one person was going to get more than the other, and I said we'd do a rock paper scissors to see who would get it. I lost, so he got more wraps than me. So that's my moan.
So your moan is that you're shit at rock paper scissors.
Yeah, my dad got more chicken wraps than me, and they were really good chicken wraps.
It's a shame you didn't get more of them,
Wow.
then.
No,
Should have worked harder for it.
Yeah, should have done it properly.
I should have won the rock paper scissors.
That's shocking.
That
I know.
sucks. Just in general, that really sucks. Joe, do you have a moan?
I have a long one or I have a short one.
I've got a long one. Mine might take a while.
Give us
So
both. Give us both.
See, I think the long one might be slightly embargoed in that I probably shouldn't say anything about it.
Then
See, now I
maybe
want to
don't.
know more.
Alright, so my moan is people who don't put on deodorant, you fucking stink. I was on the train, on the tube in London, and everyone, it was like, when all the kids came out, it was around like 4 o'clock from school. And, you know, London is a very busy place, but like, because the tube was packed, yes, because the tube was packed, everyone had to hold the bar at the top.
Oh.
So
Oh, no.
out comes the stink from their armpit into my face. I'm like, that is disgusting. Put something on. Like, I don't know. Just like rub like a car air freshener on there or something at least. Like, you reek. And if you don't know you reek, it's because you're nose blind. Which means that you're used to your own stink, which means that's bad. I don't know where I'm going with this. Basically, put deodorant on.
I was going to say that's
Yes,
a Febreze advert.
yes, it is.
You've gone nose blind.
Nose blind. Basically, my moan is that not enough people are watching that advert and that they should re-show it to make people aware that they need to put deodorant on because otherwise you will stink and you will make my nose twitch.
I convinced my dad that he'd gone nose blind when I first came back home because I told him that the whole house smelled of cat wee.
That's clever.
He was really not happy. He was not happy at all.
How long did he believe it for?
A full week. He cleaned the house
Oh.
twice. Cleaned the house twice, bless him.
That's good.
Okay, my moan is more related to the discussion at hand. It is movie related. Normally this would be in the sell me a movie, but I don't want to sell this movie. It's the second time I've moaned about this movie.
You said you'd do this.
I went to
read your
see.
review.
I went to see The Exorcist Believer.
I've been excited for this.
Which is the new Exorcist film. It is a sequel to the classic from 1973. It's one of my favourite horror films. And they've decided to do a legacy sequel. The trailer came out a couple of months ago, and I moaned about it then, being like, why is this happening? And it's come out. It's directed by David Gordon Green, who just did the Halloween trilogy. And that franchise sort of went so downhill. The first one was solid. Second one, not very good. Third one, terrible. And this one has continued the trend because this one is even worse. My Letterboxd review opened with...
When I read it, it didn't read like that,
awful. Yeah, it might genuinely be one of the worst big horror releases I've ever seen. It's overly long, it's boring, the writing is dreadful, and it commits the worst crime a horror film can. It's not scary. I was sat there for 2 hours. The movie's 2 hours. It doesn't need to be 2 hours. I was sat there, not a single scare. Not a single scary moment. It's boring, like I said. It's so slow. And it feels like there was a huge chunk of it cut out. So God knows how much boring stuff they cut to think that this was the interesting stuff. Mainly because the girls who are possessed go from being kind of weird to like then being obviously possessed by a devil. Like there's no in between section. Also, like every other scene feels like a reference to the original, and not in like a, sometimes those can be fun, but like these ones are so niche that it's like they seems like silly. We're having whole scenes just for that, and it doesn't further the plot or add anything to any character. It's just there so you can say, oh, that's from the original. So one thing I didn't write about in my Letterboxd review was that the original movie, it's called The Exorcist. What does that make you think is the main focus of the movie? It makes you think of The Exorcist. It's the person conducting the exorcism. Because the movie is really about the priests. It's about
I didn't think that at all. For some reason, I thought The Exorcist meant the girl.
No,
so
the exorcist is the person that conducts an exorcism, and it's
that makes
priest.
Sense. Yeah.
Okay, and the girl in the original needs the exorcism.
Exercised.
It needs to be exorcised exactly. So
Can relate.
in this, the priest that they have to conduct the exorcism, so the titular exorcist, is in the scene for maybe 5 minutes. He's in the movie for maybe 5 minutes. And
Good, is it?
It's not good at all. Like, so they've completely misunderstood what the original movie is about. And misunderstood the title! How can you misunderstand the title of your own movie? That's ridiculous. Also, there's like a plot reveal in the third act that most people will be like, what? And then it adds nothing to the rest of the movie. It adds literally nothing to the rest of the movie. The ending's really stupid. I did not like this movie one bit. It just enraged me. I was sat there, I walked out, and as I walked out, I walked past someone and I quoted Hot Fuzz. I said, "What absolute horseshit." The very niche one. But no one else in the audience was like, wow, that was good. You know how some people go and see a movie and they're like, it was alright? Because they're too nervous to think, I've just spent £10 on that awful, awful movie. So they're like, it was alright, you know. Also, special shout out to the middle-aged couple in front of me who just hardcore made out the whole time. Like, the whole time. It was very uncomfortable.
Maybe they enjoyed their time.
That was the biggest scare of the experience.
I'll be honest, I think they completely loved it. They were going at it before the movie started. So during like the trailers and the adverts for the cinema, there was a point it went dark, and she let out a noise. I was like, my goodness, man, fair play. I don't sit at the back either. I sit like 3 rows from the front. So they were really, they did not care. They did not care. So special shout out to them. Awful shout out to The Exorcist Believer. Don't watch this movie. It is my moan this week. It's not a recommendation. Don't even check this out to be like, oh wow, I heard this is bad. It's not even funny bad. If it was funny bad, I would give it points, which I have done for other horror films I've been watching this summer. This is just terrible. So stay away from The Exorcist Believer and go and watch Taylor Swift next week instead.
Are you going to have a moan later on for the sake of uniformity, or?
What do you mean?
Well, you've had your moan now, you've said. Oh, wait, yeah. Are you going to have your recommendation later? Or are you going to have a moan later? Or is your... Because you said your recommendation's your moan. So what are you going to have later? Or are you just not going to talk? We can cut this bit.
Thanks for the permission there, Joe. I really thought that was going to be an integral moment this week.
What I was trying to say is, because you've had... Your moan was a recommendation.
What were you going to say, Joe? What were you going to say? What were you going to say? Do you want to carry this on? Do you want to carry this on, or do you want to just move on? Should we just move on?
What I was going to say is, because
were you going to carry on talking? Are you going to carry on talking?
What I was going to say is, because your moan...
What were you going to say, Joe? You were going to say something. What were you going to say?
What I was going to say is, because your moan is a recommendation...
You're still going with this, okay.
What I was going to say is, because your moan was a recommendation, are you going to have another recommendation later? Or are you going to have a moan as a recommendation? Like,
Is that what you were saying? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, what I was saying is that... As your moan was your recommendation, are you going to have a recommendation later? Because you've done a 2-in-1 now. So do you need to do one later? And what I meant was, for uniformity, are you going to have one later? So there's one from each of us. Or is your one you've just given the one you've just done, so you're not going to do one later? Is that correct?
We've taken 20 minutes to lose it.
Oh my god.
I think that was half the time of last week's episode.
So was that your...
We're going to move on. We're going to get to the main topic.
But I didn't get an answer.
You're not going to get an answer. You're going to have to wait and see, Joseph.
I will question you then.
We're going to get into the main topic, but just before we do, make sure you are following the Filmian podcast on Spotify. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can see the waveform and the cool posters. And make sure you're following us on all our social medias. We really do appreciate any messages we get and any support you give us. So thank you very much. On to the rest of the episode. We're going to talk about Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters! If there's something strange
I was
in your
dancing, it doesn't
neighborhood,
work in audio.
it's probably the previous
So you're gonna
producer
call.
of the show.
Oh my goodness! Right. So we'll talk about. We'll start where it all began. 1984, the original Ghostbusters, starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson as the 4 lead Ghostbusters. Also in the supporting cast, we've got Sigourney Weaver, we've got Rick Moranis, and we've got Annie Potts, all in iconic roles in this movie. Joe, go for it. What were you going to say?
Can I just say I watched all these movies out of order?
I saw that, you absolute
I watched-
sicko.
Fucking
Ghostbusters
twat.
2016, then Ghostbusters 2, then Ghostbusters Afterlife, and then the first Ghostbusters didn't get a look in, but that's because I know it a lot.
My goodness.
Disgraceful.
That is awful. I also saw what you gave these movies on Letterboxd, so I am not excited for this conversation. When Ghostbusters originally came out, it was an absolute smash hit in the year it came out. It grossed over nearly $300 million, which for an original comedy, that's like
Whoa.
really good. That's like really good. And it follows. Well, initially it's 3 scientists who become essentially blue-collar workers and become plumbers, but for ghosts. They become the Ghostbusters. And they start catching ghosts.
Busting ghosts.
Busting makes me feel good. So yeah, what do we think about this movie? Suan, go on. What do you think about this one?
It's the best one, you know. I'm sorry, you can't beat it. I know the other 3 tried, but personally, I actually watched them in order because that's what you should
Well,
do.
we're not all that good, are we?
Clearly. And so I was like, I'm starting on a high, and I watched the other 3, and I'm like, I know you're trying, you really are, but you're not. It doesn't beat the first one. It's just iconic in every way, and yeah, I love it because I've seen it ever since I was a kid. You know, it's something that your parent shows you, and yeah, it's just one of those timeless classics that it does still hold up since '84, which is more or less. How long ago is that now? 40 years next year.
39 years as of now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the icons, the classics, and yeah, I absolutely loved watching it again.
To me, Christ! to me, this is a. I think this is a perfect movie, and I don't think there's a question about it. What are you guys laughing at? Did something funny happen? I guess I missed that. Whatever that was. I think. There was a big moth, okay?
Wait, was there? I didn't notice.
Yeah, me neither. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I think every performance is pitch perfect. The soundtrack is obviously iconic, but I said to my dad, the problem is with the Ghostbusters song, it's so good, but it's just been overplayed at this point, hasn't it? Because it is an it's an outrageously good song, but it's been overplayed, and so it doesn't quite hit the same. But God, imagine hearing that for the first time. That's like, oh, this is outrageous.
It's a bop.
The score is also excellent score. It's one of the funniest movies ever made. I don't think there's a single scene in this that didn't make me cackle. And it's just such a great concept. What a fantastic concept this is. Yeah, they catch ghosts, but they're like plumbers. Like, that's so good.
They're not remotely qualified to do it, but
No, like the perfect resemblance of that is when
sorry.
when Dan Aykroyd first comes across Slimer, and he walks around the corner. He's got the cigarette in his mouth, and it just
How does that
hangs
cigarette
there.
stay? How does that stay there?
That's so good. It's such a wonderful moment. And she's like, yeah, these guys are just normal. Because we've seen it. If that's nowadays, they're not shown in like. We'll talk about 2016's Ghostbusters later, but my biggest problem with that one is that they're treated more like superheroes instead of blue collar workers, which is what the initial concept clearly is, and what they're going for.
It's like the Mario Brothers, but they like deal with ghosts.
Yes, Joe. It is like the Mario Brothers.
Because they're plumbers.
They are plumbers, Joe. You're right. Well done.
Great observation.
And they wear clothes. I don't know.
Overalls?
That's the one.
Oh my god. Right. What else do I love? The cast are obviously great. I've already named the names, but Bill
Sigourney
Murray.
Weaver. Oh.
Right. Okay. We'll start with Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver. Wonderful.
Sigourney Weaver. In that orange dress, too.
Stop it. Stop it.
I remember
right now.
seeing that as a kid and being like, oh, that's nice.
Oh, hello.
It's lovely.
Confession time. I never saw this fully as a kid. This was one of those films that I saw
Two
like
of you
the
now.
end. I saw the end of it a few times, but nothing else from it. And I discovered this really famous movie, but I discovered it when I was like 17. It was the summer of 2017. I bought it on Blu-ray, and I think I watched it 12 times that summer. Because it was I just fell in love with it. I watched it and was like, why have I never seen this before? What is going on? And then I just kept rewatching it because I just loved it. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Sigourney Weaver, fantastic. Bill Murray, every single line he has is a banger.
He's great.
He's like a live action Garfield, but as a human.
Oh, you twat.
Like, oddly enough, they have like the same sort of humour.
Do they have the same voice, too?
Yeah.
How bizarre.
What's up?
How bizarre. I think Dan Aykroyd is adorable. And that's something here as well. All of them have distinct characters.
Yeah.
You don't get mixed up about which one is speaking or like which one is which character, because they're all so individual. And Dan Aykroyd's character is just adorable. He's so childlike, and
He's
and
just
in
loving
awe of
life looking at the
everything.
ghosts.
Yeah, he's just loving life. Harold Ramis.
Egon.
Egon.
That's the second one.
I know.
Spoilers.
He's really great in this, and he's really good at the dry stuff. So it's the little facial expressions. So when they're when they catch their first ghost, and they're writing up the check for the concierge, and he's like just stretching out his fingers to let him know how much money to take. He's like coughing. It's so funny. It's so good. And I really like Ernie Hudson. He's underutilized, absolutely. He's barely in the movie.
Wasn't he
which is such a
originally
shame.
supposed to have a bigger role, apparently?
It was originally supposed to be Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
But
Really?
Eddie Murphy turned it down because the role wasn't big enough.
Oh.
And so they got Ernie Hudson. And Ernie Hudson is great. He has some
does
really
it
great lines.
fantastically.
And one of my favourite scenes in the movie is just him and Dan Aykroyd talking in the car. And that's like the one scene in the movie that isn't funny, but it's still one of my favourite scenes in the movie. Yeah, there's a lot to like here. Joe, I feel like you haven't said much.
Yeah, where's my section?
Right here!
No, I was like you. I didn't watch it for ages. I'd heard bits about it. But I didn't properly watch it till you showed me C1. Was it when we got back from the cinema one night, or was that when we rewatched it? Because I watched it with you twice.
I remember us walking back to the house, and it was dark.
Could have been
And
that.
we might have been in the cinema.
Yeah, but yeah, I really like it. It's a very charming film. It's very of its. Could I say it's of its time? Like, even though it's timeless, you can tell it's from that era. Like,
Yeah,
especially with the
exactly.
special effects and a lot of the live
Yeah.
action stuff. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Oh my god.
I want to
He's
eat
great.
it.
When I rewatched this with my dad, and I laughed so hard when he showed up because it just looks so funny. He's so
It's so
happy.
cool.
He's so happy, and it's
And then
just
he gets angry.
ridiculous. And then he gets angry. But he's just, you see him, like, in between buildings, you just see his big face.
Little grin.
Oh my god. It's so
He's so
funny.
cute.
It's so funny.
We have
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
the gatekeeper and the keymaster. That's great. I got confused because I watched Afterlife. I was like, hang on, I thought, what's the name?
Gozer.
The god. I thought
Gozer.
Gozer was Zool, but Zool's the dog, so I was wrong.
My dad thought Zool
Was the woman.
Was the woman, and Gozer was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Gozer is both.
But no, it's cool. It's as you said, great cast. Bill Murray's charming here. Sigourney Weaver is probably an awakening for many people. As she was in lots of her films. You watch Alien, you probably don't watch it for the
When
alien.
she takes off the clothes.
I
was
okay,
being subtle about it, Seo.
I read something this week
When she
saying
takes
that-
off the clothes.
I read something this week saying that she refused to shave her pubes for that movie.
Didn't she
so
want to do it
someone
completely naked as well?
someone had to go in and airbrush out her pubes coming out of her underpants because she also refused to pull them up higher. So like she wanted her bush to be on show, and they had to airbrush it out.
She's
someone had
so
to-
cool.
She actually is really cool, but like
She's
Bring
so
us the
cool.
bush cut. Where's the
someone
bush
it
cut?
really is the bush cut.
Or the bush trim? But not the
Oh,
bush
I
trim
love
in this
her.
case.
That was funny, Jeff. That was funny.
Thank you. But but no, I love this film. Even though I've only seen it twice and I didn't rewatch it for this because I ran out of time, even though I didn't watch them in order anyway. I love this film. They're a bunch of goons, all of them. They're like a little happy family, and I love it. And I love how, like, despite all although it is a comedy, it still takes itself seriously with all the science and, you know, I think the thing that carries across all these films is it takes the science seriously. There's technobabble that makes sense, and, you know, it treats the audience with. It doesn't treat them like idiots. It's like, we're going to tell you some science as well, which I think is great. So I like this film.
We keep saying it's endlessly quotable because it is. Do you guys have a favourite line?
We
Dickless.
got one.
That's a good one.
Either that. What?
What was yours?
Oh, mine was the Dickless one.
Yes.
Or I do like the.
It's true. This man has no dick.
No dick. Yeah. Either that or I do like the bit when Dan Aykroyd says the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That's, I don't know, just the way he says it. It's great.
Yeah. This isn't my favourite line in the movie, but it's my favourite line delivery. And it's when Rick Moranis is running about and he's been taken by the Keymaster and he starts talking to a horse and then runs away. And the guy riding the horse looks at the camera and goes, "What an asshole!" That's just a personal favourite line delivery.
Oh, I also like when, like, do you know when Bill Murray arrives at Dana's place when she has been taken and she opens the door and it's like, "Are you the Keymaster?" He goes, "No," and she just closes it.
Yeah.
The way she just closes it in his face, like, yeah, okay, I don't need you then.
There's so many to choose from, but I think it's got to be human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. I think that's one I use in my day-to-day life.
Just a lot of what Bill Murray says.
I do wonder how much of it was improv as well.
It's Bill Murray a lot.
Probably a lot.
I do also like, do you know at the end when the Marshmallow Man actually has been kablooied and they're all covered in marshmallow, but Bill Murray has significantly less marshmallow.
Yeah, I love
to think
they
that's
just sort of
just
look at
him not wanting it on him.
Yeah, they sort of look at him and go, oh, right, okay.
Was it part of his
less
contract then,
marshmallow.
or something that he didn't want it on him?
It might have been. It might have been because he has to kiss.
It's just
Sigourney
Bill
Weaver.
Murray.
It might have been because.
No,
of
but then
that.
Sigourney has some honour.
Yeah.
I appreciate that he's got less.
Yeah. The whole final act is really excellent. Everything on the roof, every single line, you're like, oh, I know this line. This is a classic line. Yeah, it's just a wonderful movie. I also thought the first time I watched it, tell me if I'm wrong here, when they first get kicked out of the university and they're sat on the steps of the library drinking, and Bill Murray says, call it faith, call it karma.
It's a good speech.
The music sort of goes up, and I genuinely thought it was about to be a musical number. Did anyone else
Should have
think
been.
that?
No.
Should have been.
But it's a line that's
Just-
used in like lots of trailers and stuff.
Yeah. Also, one of my Loki favorite characters in this is
It's not Loki, is it?
It's
I wish.
it's William Atherton who plays Walter Peck, the environmentalist guy.
The ginger guy.
Yes.
You
He
like
is-
him?
in the fact that he is the biggest arsehole I've ever seen in a movie. I don't think I've ever wanted to punch someone in a movie so much than in this. I'm just like, oh, I hate you. He also speaks. He speaks without moving his mouth. So he's like, can I please see the storage facility, Mr. Fengman? Like, he doesn't open his mouth. So yeah, good movie. Overall, I think it's one of the GOATs for sure of comedy movies.
That thing in Netflix that came out a year, God, I think it was over the pandemic, where they were talking about like behind the scenes of a few films.
The
And
movies that made us,
Ghostbusters-
was it?
Yeah, I think. And then Ghostbusters was one of them.
Oh,
And they were like talking about the whole development and how they didn't even know if they actually had Bill Murray until the day like before, and he turned up.
oh, God.
But one of my favourite things about that is that they didn't actually know if they could call it Ghostbusters.
Yes.
And then it wasn't until the scene where they pull up outside of Dana's place and there's the entire crowd, and because they're chanting Ghostbusters, some producer or something had to call up the studios and say, look, we have to call it Ghostbusters now. And he's like, why? And he just turned the phone and you can just hear an
That's
entire
Well, listen
crowd
to this!
Chanting Ghostbusters has to be one of the coolest things.
That's really cool.
There's a really good thread on Twitter. I don't know what account it is, but they do like sort of behind the scenes for films like trivia.
I
And they did it
think
for
it's all the right.
RoboCop.
I think it's all the
did
right
it-
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, they did it for this film, and the amount of information about this film is great. The library scene that was sort of made up on the day, I think, and I think that's one of the most iconic.
Are you menstruating right now?
Like a lot of this film was just like made up on the spot, but it comes together really well. So, yes,
It's just like mainly four creatives: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ivan Reitman, just working perfectly in the prime of their careers, just working fantastically with each other. That's all it is. It's just right place, right time, and magic happens. Yeah, dope movie. Should we move on to a bad one?
an
Should we move on?
okay one, I'd say.
Should we move on to
Yeah, it's okay.
Should we move on to a worse one?
Can
Then
Joe
I'll say.
start?
Joe wants to start, I think.
After I introduce it, we're going to talk about Ghostbusters 2, which was released in 1989. It had a much more mixed critical reception, but the box office was still pretty strong for a comedy film. Its budget was $25 million, and it earned over $200 million. So not a bad little return there on investment.
Pretty good.
And it was released in 1989, so 5 years later. Go for it, Joe.
I think this movie's okay. I think it still has some of the charm of the first one. Not as charming, and it is slightly boring in places. But I had fun with it. I liked the full go. It wasn't just like after the first Ghostbusters. It was like, yeah, we're going to continue Ghostbusting. There was a reason why they stopped. I think it's very funny. I really fancy the woman who says "I got one" in this movie. I think she looks great.
Yep, she looks like a reverse carrot at a point.
A reverse carrot top.
No, a reverse carrot. Ginger head, green dress.
I didn't even think about that. I think Viggo is a bit boring, and the whole stuff with the baby I don't care about. But I think there's some great lines in this. I think the four of them are still having a lot of fun. I liked the line you did earlier of like Do Re Egon, and he gives them a look like. I think that's great.
It's the best moment in the movie. For me, it's the best moment in the movie.
I don't know. I like it does something different, I guess. I like the goo stuff, but I like the visuals of the goo. I think the whole emotions feeding the goo is weird.
It just feels like a.
It gets mega complicated.
It feels like a way to try and replicate the original by having like a big crowd of people chanting the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And to get everyone singing in New York, it seems a bit much.
Yeah, I think the Statue of Liberty stuff as well. Although it's a great visual, it does seem like, oh, we need this big monster, this big object in the city like the first one. Let's get the Statue of Liberty. I think the Titanic coming to shore is pretty cool.
That's pretty fun.
That's clever. That's clever.
And the only reason I knew that was going to be in this film is because I played the Lego Dimensions level before I'd watched any of the films. So I saw the open world and it was the Titanic was there. I'm like, why the hell was the Titanic in New York? It is New York, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, and also there's a funny is it a funny line when they go to Dana's? Egon says, "Oh, I'm going to have to perform some gynecological tests on her," and then Bill Murray's character's like, "Who wouldn't?" And it's like, oh my god, it is very weird. But no, I think it's okay, and I still think it's kind of funny, and I think the main thing for me is that the four of them still do their bit, and are clearly, I think they're still enjoying themselves. I know that I've read a few of you saying they're handing it in and it's not as good performance-wise by them, but I think it's the same. They're having a lot of fun. It's the main thing.
Go on, Sue, and I'll let you go next.
With your last point, the only one I would suggest is maybe Bill Murray does want to be there at some times. But otherwise, I do think...
I think Egon's having more fun.
I was going to say, Bill Murray didn't want to be there after the first one. Bill Murray hasn't wanted to be in anything since. And he's been in every single one of them. And he just doesn't want to be there.
He wants the paycheck.
He's the reason they never made more movies, like in the 80s and 90s. He's the reason. But anyway, correct.
Yeah, I do think what I when I rewatched it the other day, one thing I realized is yes, they're separated, but the moment they have to come back together because of everything that's happening with Dana and the kid, it's really sweet because they do actually seem like a family, and they do really seem to care about each other. Like from the moment Dana asks for help from Egon, he's there. So is Dan Aykroyd, and then once Bill Murray gets wind of it, he's there. They're all kind of together, and they will look after each other. And I thought that was really, really sweet. The goo, it's all right, I guess. It works, but then sometimes it's a bit too much. One review I saw is that somebody did question how they got the Lady Liberty back to where she's supposed to be. which I agree with. How did they get her back? Because that's going to take a whole lot of cranes. But, you know, it's, yeah, I agree. It's a cool visual, but yeah, it's a bit meh. It's just, it tries to be what the first was, but then also trying to be bigger. And just, moments of it works, moments of it doesn't. Like, yeah, Vigo kind of is a bit meh in the end. He's just a creepy painting with some creepy effects on his face, but there's not much to him. But there is moments where you can appreciate the film, so I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Right, well, 2 points. One of them is that... Hang on, I've forgotten what they
Great
are.
point.
Wait.
Great point.
No, wait, hang on.
Great point.
Hang on. What were you just talking about, C1? We can cut this bit.
He wasn't listening.
I was talking about a
No, I was. I just need a reminder.
Vigo?
Yeah, okay.
Not Vigo.
So point 1, the art guy, he was in Bean, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
He's got his accent is grating. It's annoying, and he's very creepy. He's like, do you want me to come in, Dana? It's like, oh my god. But also point 2, when the Ghostbusters are taken to that asylum, didn't the doctor guy look like an older Bill Murray? I thought that was
his
Bill Murray in
brother.
makeup. Is
His
it?
brother. I think
Is
so.
it? Oh.
I think
Because I was like,
Do-
hang
can we
on, has
fact
Bill
check
Murray
that,
put a
please?
mask on?
I'm
And
gonna
then it's
fact
like,
check
oh
this.
wait,
He
he's
said it,
there.
I think.
I'm gonna fact check this
Because they are
I
the
know
spitting image.
because the
Yeah,
guy
they're related at
in,
least.
because the guy's
'Cause I read
in
it.
what's he called? He's in Wayne's World.
Is it something Murray?
Well, you'd assume so, wouldn't you? Hang on.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Brian Doyle Murray, psychiatrist.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yes! IMDb has never let me down.
Hang on, he's called Murray, but let's see. Sibling Joel Murray. Oh right, yeah, Bill Murray. Okay.
Thank you.
There's a why have they put Bill Murray at the bottom of that list of siblings? That's so strange.
I was just watching it. I was like, are you Bill Murray in older makeup? I thought there was going to be a twist that he'd sort of switch places or something, but like, no, it's just his brother.
Brother.
Just his brother. Right. Okay.
Boom.
I guess it's my
With my
turn.
facts.
My opening statement in my review was, and the magic's gone.
Oh.
For me, this fumbled. There was nothing here for me. Like there were a couple of laughs, and like I like the cast, but it just really felt like a poor attempt at a sequel. Like the villain's really bad, and Vigo's really bad. It's mostly quite boring, and it feels like it goes on for so long. Even though I think this is shorter than the first one.
Probably by about 2 minutes or something.
No, this is longer. This is 3 minutes longer. And you can feel those 3 minutes. I think the performances are pretty flat here. I think they probably wanted to do a sequel, but were sort of shot down by Bill Murray at every point, that when they finally got in to do it, they were all probably just really tired. So I think they just didn't have any life left in these performances. I am gutted about that, because like I said, I like this cast and the characters, and I'd seen this one quite a few times as a kid. So this one I thought was like, it's a good movie, but this is not a good movie. So I ended up giving this 2 stars.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I gave it
No.
2.5.
I think I gave it 3.
Yeah. So,
Oh, look at us.
well, around
Aw.
about the same.
Yeah.
And by the way, for the first one, I gave it 5 stars.
I gave it 4.5.
I don't think I've reviewed it on Letterboxd yet.
But what
What
would
would
you
you give it?
Oh, I kind of forgot that the
Jakes.
star system existed outside of Letterboxd for a second. I maybe 4 or 4.5 stars.
You would give it 4 stars.
4.5 stars.
What would make it a 5 for you guys?
I
What
don't
films
know.
are 5 stars?
Maybe if I rewatch it, I'll be like, oh yeah, 5 stars.
I don't know. It's just a feeling.
Because I feel like I give 5 stars like a lot, but like I like a lot of movies, you know.
Yeah.
I don't give 5
no,
stars
like there's
too
a lot
often.
of films. I give it to like I don't know something. I don't know. It's just I don't know why I didn't give it 5.
Anyway, yeah, this one I thought was just pretty boring, and when it ended, I was like, oh right, it's over. Okay, that sucks.
Doesn't it also
Sure.
feature the Twin Towers?
Probably
They
It's set
are
New
in
It's the
New
final
York,
shot of the
yes.
film,
York.
isn't
New
it?
York. Maybe, yeah.
Like when the
It
credits
is-
come up.
It is set
They
in New
were
York,
built
though,
in 1973, so they were there for a good 30 years.
yeah, 28.
Yeah.
That was unnecessary. I'm sorry. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yes.
Which is
yes.
let's call it the most divisive one, because
Yeah.
I think I can thank this movie. Well, maybe not thank it, but this gave me my first real insight into what the internet can be. It's Ghostbusters 2016.
Let's go.
If you were about on the internet, which I'm sure most of you were, when this movie got announced, and when the trailer came out, the internet was not
It
a
was a
fun
war
place.
zone.
It was a war zone. Like, all I can think of is that Vine of that guy that's saying, an all-female Ghostbusters, the feminists are taking over. And in the background, it's the song to Ghostbusters going, I'm an adult virgin. I constantly think about. But this was a big swing, a really big swing. They wanted, I mean, Ghostbusters, the originals, we already talked about, they made a lot of money. So there was money to be made here for sure. But I'm really not, I don't understand why they pumped $140 million into this one. That seems like a lot of money. And it only grossed 229. So like that's
Still a profit.
No, it's not, because you've got to double that for marketing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, not good.
Was this the first all-female remake of a film?
I think.
Could be one
I
of
think
the first.
yeah. I think the first major one.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause after this, I'm trying to think of the other ones we got. We got Ocean's 8, but that wasn't even a remake. That was just a spin-off. There's talk about Margot Robbie doing Pirates.
Oh, I thought that was canned.
Who knows anymore? But yeah, this was like one of the big ones. It's directed by Paul Feig, who did comedies like Bridesmaids and The Heat and Spy.
Didn't he direct some of The Office as well? US
He directed
Office.
some episodes of The Office. Yeah, he produced Freaks and Geeks when that was out in the late 90s, early 2000s, which is a really great TV show if you haven't seen it. And yeah, so I had the choice of either seeing this or Star Trek Beyond at the cinema, and I chose wisely. So
you chose this one.
I have actually not seen this movie until this week. The only stuff I'd seen from it was the trailer back in 2016. So I knew nothing about this. It stars the 4 Ghostbusters in this are Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones. They also added Chris Hemsworth to the cast as the secretary. And then there's a bunch of familiar faces that you'll know from either other Ghostbusters movies or other American comedies, because they're all in all of them for some reason.
SNL.
Yeah, exactly. You'll know them all from SNL, yeah. I'll be completely honest. I'm gonna go out here and say it. I don't really like Melissa McCarthy. I don't find her that funny. The only film I've seen her in that I think is actually quite good is Spy. Spy's a really funny movie, and she's quite good in it. And then there's a point in the middle where there's a lot of swearing, and I don't like it as much. But I just don't find her that funny. Kristen Wiig, though, I really like. Kate McKinnon, I think this was her big breakout role after SNL, and I think she gets out of this really good. Leslie Jones, I've seen in a few things, and she's all right. But Yeah, Melissa McCarthy, not for me. What did we all think of this one?
Wait, can I say the opposite of what you've just said?
You love Melissa McCarthy.
No. Well, she's alright. But in this, I prefer Melissa McCarthy to Kristen Wiig. For some reason, Kristen Wiig in this, I just couldn't get her character. Like, all the other three, I actually loved. Like, specifically Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones, I thought they were great. Melissa McCarthy, I did think she did very well. For some reason, Kristen Wiig's character, I just did not care for. Like, I did not find her particularly funny. And the whole thing with her and Chris Hemsworth, I just thought was cringe and very unfunny.
We'll look into. I've got some comments on the cast and the characters specifically. Joe, I think you were the highest of us all on this.
Again, I was online when like the first trailer came out and when the film came out and when the first set pictures came out. People were like, oh, they've ruined it. Oh, the proton packs are inaccurate, and it was like really nerdy stuff, and some of it was just pure sexism.
Nearly all of it was sexism, Joe. That's the
okay. Well, I don't want to presume that everyone's opinions are based on sexism. Some people could just be like, I don't think it's needed. Like, you could have another Ghostbusters film with men and be like, I don't think that's needed. But I saw bits on Film 4 and stuff over the years, and I thought, okay, it looks a bit odd. But I properly sat down and watched it for this episode, and I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's the funniest film in the world, but I think it is incredibly respectful to Ghostbusters. I think despite some of the comedy that doesn't always work, I think it's, the proton packs, all of the mythos around the Ghostbusters is treated very respectfully, I think. And although it is a comedy, it still does the science. It does like is it like the level 5 ghost or whatever you call it, that sort of thing, and it shows Kate McKinnon and like her actually inventing all the proton packs and all the new gadgets, which are really cool to see. Like, you get like a what do you call it? It's like the electrical thing that police use, a taser. You get like a proton taser, which is really cool, and you get all the gadgets. I think they work well as a four. I think the film really gets going from the tunnel scene when they finally all come as a four. I love Leslie Grace in this. I think she's very funny.
Leslie Jones.
I love Leslie Jones in this. I think she's very funny. Like when that ghost is like perched on her, she's like, "I'm just gonna take off. I'm just gonna go." I'm like, that is so funny. Like, because it's not overreacting at all. It's just like, I'm done. I'm doing this. I love the opening because it's like a pre-titles where it's like, zoom. It's Gabe from The Office. Is it Gail?
Gabe from The Office.
Gabe from The Office. It zooms in on him, not showing the ghost, and it's like, this would be a great pre-title sequence for a TV show. It's pitched so perfectly. I love that.
It's the exact same opening as the original.
Is it? Well, that's cool.
It's following someone who doesn't think like anything's going on, and then the camera zooms in on their face as they're being spooked by a ghost, and it cuts to opening credits.
Okay, but I really like this film. It's also kind of scary. There are bits where it's scary, like the mannequin. I didn't see that in any trailers or clips or mentioned online at all. So when I saw that mannequin move, I was like, nope. And it runs at her. That is terrifying. That's really creepy. But no, I really like this movie. Not all the comedy works. And Melissa McCarthy, I don't think she's as funny as people say she is. I think she's good in serious roles. I think when there are serious moments in the film, it's some of the better moments. Like when... What's her name? The one in Paul.
Kristen Wiig.
I'm terrible with names. When Kristen Wiig's telling the story about the ghost at the end of her bed every night. That's, it's not played for laughs at all. It's terrifying. It's like, oh, damn, she's really, really gone through it. And I like Chris Hemsworth. I like when he's like, "Oh, is this too Peter Pan?" and he floats down to the ledge. That's so funny. I think he's great in this movie.
Let's be honest. Chris Hemsworth is absolutely the MVP of this movie, right? Can we all agree that?
One of.
Kate McKinnon.
In this movie, yes. Okay. Kate McKinnon and Chris Hemsworth MVPs. Yes.
Yes.
My problem with Kate McKinnon is that she is a standout in this, but then everything else I've seen, literally everything I've seen, including clips from SNL, it's her doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, I suppose.
I've not seen her even in Barbie. The reason I didn't like her in Barbie was because, it's just Kate McKinnon, right?
You could say the same about Bill Murray, though.
I don't think that's true. You ever seen Caddyshack?
No.
No.
Bill Murray's very un-Bill Murray in that. And also, Bill Murray has a lot of different... He's gone on to do serious roles as well. So I don't think it's like Bill Murray.
But men are given more opportunities than women.
Well, that's not my problem, is it?
It should be.
I don't know what you want me to do about that, Joe.
I say because it's technically like the first film where she did get to do that kind of role.
I guess
we
it's
shouldn't
like Jesse
kind of
Eisenberg.
judge it on that. It's just everything else afterwards.
It's like Jesse Eisenberg. Like The Social Network is amazing and he's incredible. Then everything else after that, it's like, it's Jesse Eisenberg. Okay.
Yeah.
My biggest problem with this movie, right, and I'm gonna just read out what I wrote on Letterboxd.
Go for it.
I have a big problem with the color grading in this.
No, because I read your review and I saw that, and the moment it started, I was like, he has a point.
It's a really weird critique, but let me cook, okay? One of my favourite things about the original is that everything looked grimy. The city felt lived in, and the Ghostbusters were treated like plumbers or other blue-collar workers. In this movie, everything feels too squeaky clean. It's shot in crisp 4K, it's brightly lit in every scene, and the Ghostbusters are more treated like misunderstood superheroes, which is what I mentioned earlier. They get full-blown action sequences and heroic scores, and a lot of this comes from the colour grading. It looks like a Marvel movie in the worst possible way. It's also got a Marvel-esque final battle where the heroes have to fight an army of unnamed villains and are quipping at every opportunity. That ain't Ghostbusters. Like, if you compare this with the original, you're like, okay, you can have your reboot, whatever, but like, this is nothing like Ghostbusters. So Joe said earlier it's very respectful to what Ghostbusters is, and in that sense, it's not, because I think this is far from what Ghostbusters is. This is like, if you were to Marvelize Ghostbusters, this is what it is. I think the next movie does a much better job of that, but we will get to it.
I have 2 complaints with this movie, though.
Tell me.
There's a really terrible version of the Ghostbusters theme in this.
Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, yes.
Not in the fight scene.
No.
It's a singing one. There's
Yes.
and it's just not
Isn't
very
it?
good.
Do you not know who it is, Joe?
Is it Panic at the Disco?
It's Fallout Boy.
It's terrible.
It's
It's like,
terrible.
you're gonna call, and it really rushes that bit, and it's like, ugh, I don't like it.
I'm not afraid, not afraid. I'm not afraid, not afraid.
I really don't like it.
It's terrible. It's so bad.
I like the orchestral version in the fight scene, although it reminds me of a really shitty Doctor Who fan film that used it in their trailer.
I agree, not with the second part, but the first part. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool moment when you hear the dun dun in the score. I thought that was cool. But also, it's in a scene like the whole city is surrounded by smog, so you can't. They could have filmed it anywhere, and you know they're just on a green screen, and then just like I just punch the air there, and it's like literally what Tom Holland has to do and what he cries about having to do for Spider-Man. I'm like, oh right, okay, Melissa McCarthy's having the same problems as Tom Holland. Okay, cool.
I think apart from that, the score is pretty forgettable because it doesn't have the which is do we consider that the main theme in the first film? Because the Ghostbusters isn't the theme. That's a piece of music. Like
it's a theme song.
It's a theme song, not the theme of the movie.
So yeah,
not an orchestral theme.
Not an orchestral theme,
the
yeah. So
is a bit, yeah.
yeah, but I do think it's overused in the fourth film. But we'll get to that. My other one is that it doesn't. This is nerdy, but this is like, I think this was an essential that they missed. The Ecto one doesn't have the. It has a not as good alarm as it drives, and I don't like it.
I get you. I get what you mean. Yeah, I mean, obviously the car's not as cool. The outfits aren't as cool. Nothing is as cool as it is in the original because we've spent, before this movie came out, 30 years as a society, not as people here, but as a society, becoming
I've spent 30 years. What are you talking about?
So we've become so accustomed to this version of things, and to see it, like, to some people, bastardized in this. Like,
I think that's so stupid, though.
It is. I think it is.
They
I
don't
think it's a little
own
bit
the
childish.
property.
I think it's a little bit childish and naive to think that it's sacred forever.
It's
and
like
I understand
it's
that.
like Doctor Who. They always have a sonic screwdriver, but it can have different designs. Different people have made these proton packs. Let them look different. If they do the same thing, that's fine. And they look similar enough. I don't look at that and go, what the fuck is that? I go, that's a proton pack. It does what it's meant to do. It's the iconography. It works. Stop complaining.
An issue I have with this, right, is that, not with this movie in general, moving away from the movie for a second, is that Sony, Columbia Pictures, owns the rights to Ghostbusters. So they can do whatever they want with it. Now, do you guys remember when Sony's emails got hacked? And they were releasing loads of... Do you not remember this in 2014?
No.
So Sony got hacked by, like... Oh, don't say it.
I was like 12.
Oh, no.
I don't think I had a laptop then, or a phone.
Yeah, neither.
So Sony got hacked, and at the time people thought it was North Korea hacking them, because Sony were about to release the interview in which Seth Rogen and James Franco killed Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
So Sony's emails got leaked, and it was a massive data leak, and loads of emails about movies got leaked, including one. There was a potential spin-off between 21 Jump Street and Men in Black. Now, some people are like, that sounds stupid, but I'm like, no, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard. Do you want to know what's an even better idea than that?
What?
Jump Street meets Ghostbusters. Oh my god, they're both owned by Sony. Why
I've
on
not
earth?
seen Jump Street.
They're so good. Those movies are so good, but why on earth did they not try and push that franchise more? Because I understand what they did in the second one, and it's like saying, oh, we're not going to keep doing franchise movies, but also like, please give me a movie where Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum fight aliens and then fight ghosts. That sounds amazing. Go on, Joe.
I will say, after watching all these films, it's nice to have a film where the old farts don't come back and be the main characters. You know, it's new young characters that, you know, it's a new fresh version of it, which probably for a lot of people will be their version, you know.
For some people it will be, yeah, for sure.
I mean, you know, I still like the original Ghostbusters, but I also like this one. You know, you can like both, and I don't know, people writing it off because they hate women are stupid.
Obviously. I dislike this because I don't think it's that good. But, you know, also if you hate
Xander
women,
also hates women,
know.
So, you know.
Ah, you got me, Joe.
We heard your Barbie review.
Tried to hide it. I'm gonna wrap this. I'm gonna wrap my part up in this by saying there's a lot to dislike about this movie, but at the end of the day, I did find it funny. There were a number of jokes and running gags that actually got a giggle out of me. It's a shame that some of them are nearly ruined by clearly extended sessions of improv. Because like, there's so many scenes where you're like, okay, that's a funny joke. Oh right, you're just being told to improv. Okay, and the movie adds on like 10 minutes to the runtime because of it. It's so infuriating. Just cut. This isn't funny anymore. Please stop. Please let me go. Last one. Last thing from me. has this movie been renamed? Because on Netflix,
Answer the Call, isn't it?
It is listed as Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
I thought it was just Ghostbusters 2016, and then I saw the subtitle and I thought
So-
that was just like a
Answer the
tagline
Call
for the
is-
movie.
Yeah.
But now it's subtitle. It's
on IMDb. It's still known as Ghostbusters, and people refer to it as Ghostbusters 2016 because it is, it's Ghostbusters. From
Ghostbusters 2016.
and not the original. There's an extended version of this that is nearly 2.5 hours long. Oh my goodness!
of the film.
Yes,
Is it out?
there's an extended cut. Yeah,
Okay, I have a question.
you can get it on Blu-ray.
Joe has a question. So, when I watched this film, I was like, okay, I swear there's a scene where Chris Hemsworth makes all the people dance, but then it was just in the credits. I'm like, oh. But I swear it was in the main film. Is that in the 2.5-hour version? Or, sorry, the extended
Maybe.
version?
Maybe.
That'd make sense, because I swear I remember seeing it on film for them dancing.
Oh, so it says original title Ghostbusters, and then there's an alternative act title which is Ghostbusters Answer the Call. So why?
Is this
why
like
does
Pirates of the
why does-
Caribbean, Salazar's Revenge, Dead Men Tell No Tales?
No, like it's not even that. Like when this got released here, it was called Ghostbusters, but
That's weird.
they've now added Answer the Call, I guess. But what a
Maybe to
weird,
differentiate with the first one.
yeah, but like what a weird subtitle.
Yeah, that's shit.
They should have called it Ghostbusters Women.
They should have done that. Would have been really helpful. Damn these producers.
The
Right.
She-Busters.
Does anyone else have anything to add about this movie?
I remember watching this the first time when it actually came out, and I was like, okay, I like it. I rewatched it, obviously, this week, and I do have my issues with it. I do think it is largely not funny. However, it's an entertaining film. It entertained me enough. So it's like, maybe it's not the best, but I see what they're trying to do too. And, maybe what they did do for the majority maybe didn't work for a lot of people, but, they did try. And, you can respect that. And, I'll say it's not the best, but it's enjoyable. And so I'll give it that.
Yeah, fair enough. In the end, I think it's crazy how much vitriol was on the internet about this movie and how much
That wasn't needed, though.
how much hate everyone in the cast and crew got because of this movie. And it's basically been forgotten. Nobody cares about this movie anymore. It's been 7 years and nobody talks about it.
At the end of the day, it's just a movie.
Just a movie.
It's a way of life.
Just a movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of life,
Hey.
shall we look at Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was the most recent movie. I actually did a podcast on this back when this came out. So
I actually did a poster on this back when this came out.
Did do a poster on this, and it was really good.
I actually
I
saw the poster.
I can't remember what I said about this movie, so I might be saying the same things. I haven't listened back in a while, so
Imagine if you're saying the complete opposite.
imagine, that'd be crazy. So Ghostbusters Afterlife released in 2021. I think it was initially meant to release in 2020, but then got pushed back because of COVID. I think. Actually, I'll just have a check. Yes, it was scheduled to release in July of 2020. Then they kept pushing it, and finally released in November of 2021. It stars McKenna Grace, Finn Wolfhard, and Carrie Coon as relatives of Egon Spangler, who after his death go to this little town where he now resides and see what's going on. There they meet Paul Rudd and a small child called Podcast, who I will get to later.
I hope we do.
And they try and bust some ghosts. This is a good movie, right?
Yeah.
I think we all have the exact same score on this. 3.5 stars.
Oh my god, we agreed.
It's like
Well done, guys.
I gave it a 6.5 instead of a 7 though.
Ruined it.
It felt like a Spielberg movie to me.
I
That's
get
what
that.
it felt like.
I get that.
Like the way it was shot and like the big sets and the score. I don't know. It just all felt grandiose. And sometimes there were like lens flares, which remind me of when Spielberg would use them, because he doesn't use them all the time. He uses them sparingly.
Unlike Mr. Abrams.
I know, but once it's gone, you miss it. So
Yeah.
Star Trek Beyond. But no, I dug this film, but I want to let someone else go because I went first last time. I don't want
to. So the movie cost $75 million. So it's half of the last movie's budget, and it made roughly the same amount. It made $200 million, and post-COVID, well, still
That's
like
good.
mid-COVID at that point. That's not bad.
It's pretty good.
This was a month before Spider-Man: No Way Home, when movies really came back as well. So, that's a decent number, and I think the next one will probably make more. By the way, we are getting a sequel that comes out
Isn't
next
it
year.
next year?
Yeah, comes out in I think March next year.
Do we have
Please
a title
don't
for that
involve
yet?
goo.
It is currently titled Untitled Ghostbusters Afterlife Sequel.
That's
Nice,
a good
I like
title.
it. Keep it.
We
it.
don't have a plot. We don't have a trailer.
No slime. No slime.
We've
Please
just
no
got
slime.
some filming footage of Paul Rudd in the car.
Is that
That's fine.
I didn't know we've even got that. Good God.
Whoopsie.
Okay, I guess I'll go into this. I really like McKenna Grace.
She's fantastic.
She's so good in this, and
She's
like,
really showing why every studio chose her as the mini version of everyone.
Yeah,
You know?
no, I was looking through her IMDb, and she's in. Like,
She's in
fucking
everything. I was thinking about Liz last night, and I messaged her saying, I cannot wait for the day we see someone being cast as the young version of her.
Yeah,
That'll like, I'm gonna be old when that happens, because I've seen her in things ever since her first role in Crash and Bernstein on like Disney XD. I've seen that kid grow up. It is weird. So the moment I see somebody cast as the young version of her, I'm
She
going
played
to
by
cry.
a Fanning.
You said that too.
She's got a lot of the biggest laughs in the movie, which does help you like someone. But she's like, there's a lot of small moments she has that, like, she's a good performer as well as comedic actress. So it was really great to see her actually have the spotlight, because Paul Rudd is in this, and Paul Rudd is at the front of all the marketing and at the front of all the posters, and then you see the movie and he actually takes a back seat, which I really appreciate, because this movie isn't about Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is essentially playing the Rick Moranis role from the original, and it's just
He does it fantastically.
role. And he does it really well. I think he's a lot of fun in this. I think the rest of the performances are really solid. I don't think anyone's bad in this.
No.
But can we take a minute, right? Okay. I don't mean to get triggered about things, but I feel personally offended that there is a character called Podcast who does nothing but talk about his podcast, and that is not me.
It was like
I do not do that. I do not do that. I don't do that.
You don't.
I specifically.
You don't.
Xander, you appeared on one of my YouTube videos, and the first thing you did when you introduced yourself was, "Hi, I'm Xander of the Film Me In podcast," and you plugged yourself.
I know, but that's marketing. That's marketing. I don't walk down the street and be like, "Hi, I'm Xander from the Film Me In podcast."
I doubt he does either. He just says
He
really
literally did. He literally he calls himself Podcast because he has a podcast.
He is this mysterious entity who we don't know his family, we don't know his real name. He's just.
But he has a podcast.
But he has a podcast.
Why aren't his parents
But
being like, "Where are
But
you?"
I
Stop
really liked
hanging
his
out at that
character.
dirt house."
That character can so easily be annoying if played differently, but I thought he was charming.
I thought he was really cool as well. Yeah, not overdone, which is good.
It's nice to not have annoying kids.
Yeah. No, and I'll be honest. I saw a pop vinyl of him in HMV once, and I was like, I should burn this. Because it just said podcast on it, and I was like, I swear, if someone gets me this for Secret Santa at work, I'll be fuming.
Can we do Secret Santa this year?
Yeah, but can we do it at Halloween instead?
For no reason.
What, should do it at Halloween.
Secret
give us 2
Halloween.
weeks to do it.
I want Xander for no reason.
Shut up, Suan. Go away. Right.
As long as I don't have our previous producer like last time.
I don't think you will.
I don't think you'll be involved, mate.
He'll find a way. I am back.
Many of my issues with this movie come from the story and the ending.
The return of the old farts.
Does anyone else have anything to say before we get into like the last third of this movie?
I'll say I preferred the look of this one. Do you know, like, it's mainly like you said for the 2016 one, the color grading, and it's very crisp. This one's subtler. It's not as neon-y, flashy colors.
It feels dirty.
Yeah,
It
like I know they're
feels
in this
grubby.
they're in this Hicksville thing, but it works. It just looks, and it feels more like what they did in the 80s.
Absolutely.
So I liked where you just, and the do is back.
Yes.
Though Joe did say himself that he thought it was done too much, which is fair.
I think so.
It was back,
It
it
is done
did a
few
difference.
times.
It's a difference that it is there because you're literally like, you know, I didn't think I'd miss you, but I did. And it's a fucking sound.
No, but like the music, I do like that theme, but like if you keep playing it as your main bit of music in every track, it will start to get annoying. Despite all the different variations of it, I keep hearing it and it's annoying. Like
You've kind of got to, it's an iconic score and you can use it, but you've kind of got to then step away from it and create your own score.
Like I cannot name
do
a single other theme in this film. Or maybe there is one other bit, but it's in the same track as this. It's right at the end. It's like, I don't want to hum it, but
Hum it.
it's like do 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 do. It's like that.
He's so sweet.
Oh,
God bless him. Joe, you're wonderful.
thank you. But like, yeah, although the 2016 one didn't have it, this has it too much. So there must be a good middle ground.
1984.
Yeah, go with the original. Yeah, I before you get onto the end, what are your opinions on bringing Egon back? Because it's that whole trend recently of bringing dead actors back.
Well,
it's in the beginning as well, and
No, I think that's what Xander wanted to talk about.
That is part of what I want to talk about.
Should we get onto that in a bit then, or should we do that now?
We'll do it now. Why not? So Egon comes back, and Harold Ramis died in 2014.
Oh my god, that's gonna be 10 years next year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Sorry.
I think the opening scene isn't a problem because
That's how I think you should do it.
It's his character. You don't see his face, so you know
it's him.
But you don't need to see his face because you already know who it is. There are other like iconic things you can show, like the ESG meter, which, by the way, the ESG meter, very famous movie prop. What other movie did we see it in this month?
Wait, what have I seen this month? Hold on.
Was it a John Carpenter film?
Maybe, Joseph. Maybe it was.
That's all I'm saying, because I don't actually know which one it's from.
Wait.
Okay, it is from a John Carpenter movie.
I can just go through them all and just wait.
It's not The Thing.
Right.
It was They Live. It's in They Live. So one of the when they're being chased through the building at the end, one of the police officers has an ESG meter.
Okay.
I mean, it's obviously not the ESG meter, but it's the same prop. Bit of trivia for you. Anyway, so there are other things you can show to show that it's him. And then he dies in the movie, and then we just see like things move because he's a ghost in the house. So like McKenna Grace has a chess game with him. And by the way, she looks exactly like him. They've really done a great job with that. Carrie Coon is downstairs, and like the light starts looking at her and showing her the wall and stuff like that. That's adorable. And then they ruin it in the end.
I
Like,
think
actually just bringing him back and having him stood there with no life in his eyes, just being like, yep. That's
just
a
nodding
dead
because
man.
he cannot talk.
Yep.
What? I think
I
like
did
if
like
we just
that they
take
didn't. Sorry. You go.
if we just take the beginning into account, if it was just that, I think that's and along with like him like turning the lights and moving stuff as like a ghost without seeing him, I think that's a nice metaphor for him still having an impact on the franchise while still dying. His memory is still in there.
Absolutely.
And he's part of it, even though he's not in it. I think that's a lovely thing. And bringing him back at the end, it's like, oh, we know you're dead. You've got a CGI face. I don't like this trend. They did it with Luke Skywalker. They did it with
He's not
Carrie
dead,
Fisher. They did it with They did it with Carrie Fisher. They did it
She wasn't dead at the time.
They did it with Grand Moff Tarkin.
They
did
do
it.
him.
They did it in
He was
the Flash.
He was the first big one. Tarkin in Rogue One.
I
was the
just
first big
don't.
one.
I just don't like that, and I don't like the sort of de-aging stuff. I know there's
Especially
no
when
de-aging in this, but like I just don't like that.
When the guy they had to play Tarkin under the CG actually looked like him, and it's his voice, so he sounds like him as well. It's crazy.
Does who played Egon again? Was it
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis. Did he have like any relatives that looked like him? Well, who played him in this movie? Who did they get as like a stand-in?
I have no idea.
Because I know for Carrie Fisher they got her daughter for like the base layer,
Well,
that's respectful.
So me and my dad were talking about this, and I said like I feel really icky about it. I just don't enjoy seeing dead people on my telly. It's just not what I want to do in an evening. And he said the family are clearly okay with it because they've had to say so. And so if they're okay with it, then I can be okay with it. And I do see that. I do see that point. But then at the same time, I'm like, they were probably given like a boatload of money. So like,
yeah, I think they could have left it
as well.
Because I do really like the moment where she's up against Gozer, and then his hand grabs the proton pack. Maybe don't swing round, just show the hand.
Just show the hand, and then have it like be in her head that he's got her. So she sees the hand, but then it zooms out, and there's no one there.
Yeah,
she just knows she can do it.
We know the silhouette. We don't need to see like a face, and the face does look weird, and it's even weirder where the older Ghostbusters that do come back, they talk to him and look at him, and he just goes, he just nods.
I will say I am glad they didn't do like a computer voice for him though.
Yeah, like a AI generated.
Yeah, I'm glad that if they didn't have him talk.
Yeah, for sure. I also think my issue with this whole ending is the fact that the Ghostbusters all do turn up. Like you know they're all going to be in it. You know they are. But one of my favourite scenes in the movie is when McKenna Grace calls Dan Aykroyd.
That's such a good scene.
It's a really great moment. And that's the kind of thing I want to see in this. And then you see them all, like, you think, okay, they've actually done this. They're going to do this without, oh, look, there's Bill Murray in the costume and he's saying the lines. And then they have the banter with Gozer, and it's like, oh, right, they're just replaying the hits. Okay. It's like, it's no longer its own movie. It's suddenly, it's nostalgia time.
I'm not a big fan of nostalgia time, which is why No Way Home isn't the best either. But
it's so weird. It's like, in the moment, No Way Home is like, oh my god, this is unreal. And then you watch it at home and you're like,
it's over. Yeah. You literally could have had this ending without them. All you needed was, and also, they said that Egon took all of the equipment. How did they have 3 more proton packs?
That's a fantastic question. They also said that the old firehouse became a Starbucks, and then
that wasn't a Starbucks.
It wasn't.
In one of the weirdest post-credit scenes I've ever seen in my life.
It was like a promotional video.
It was like a promotional video.
Wait, I was watching and I was like, what's this? And then I realised at the end what they're doing is like just to show that beeping thing to set up a sequel.
Could have just had
but
that.
It's just, yeah, the bit of like, oh yeah, I'm a businessman. It's like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah, they're like going into detail and his backstory. I'm like, I don't care.
You could have
Listen,
just had
I know
like
you
a
didn't get much
POV.
screen time in the 80s, but God, don't take it out on us.
You could have just had like a POV camera going through the door of the firehouse, up the or down the stairs,
We'll
wherever,
know exactly
and
where
then go
it
to the
is.
machine, and the light flickers, and that's it.
It could have even been the like an even better post-credit scene. Right, hear me out. Let me cook here. So Ernie Hudson shows up in the car, and it is a Starbucks. He walks in, and the guy's like, "Hans, what can I take your order?" And he says, "I'd like to speak to your manager about buying this place." And the guy goes, "Oh, right, okay." Goes into the back, and goes downstairs. And someone else is like taking a box away, and the beeping light is behind like a box of coffee cups or something. So then it actually makes sense, and then you can for the sequel, because they're obviously going to be back in the firehouse. That then explains how they've got the firehouse back and stuff like that.
As well as that, the credits have a weird decision in that they spoil the return of Sigourney Weaver before she pops up, and also what a pointless scene because it adds nothing to the movie. It was probably like, oh yeah, they were there on the day and were like, should we do a fun little bit and put it in? You don't need it. It's literally just the scene from the first film, but switch positions.
Yeah.
I do
It's
want
so
more Sigourney
pointless.
though.
Sigourney's
I wanted more.
beautiful.
I want more. Give me all Sigourney. Just give me a film about Sigourney.
But no,
I know there is
that
a lot of
end-
films with just Sigourney, but I
I
want
was
more.
going to say love, yeah.
That end scene is just weird though. It does seem like a promotional video, like a business
Really
video.
weird.
Like he just starts telling us about his business and like, yeah, I have one client, and like I don't care.
I'm waiting for him to start driving a Chevrolet. Like,
Exactly. I was like, okay, you're sitting in this fucking office. Get to the Ecto One. Get to the building. That's why we're here. I don't care about your
And
business.
why is the secretary there as well? And she's like,
She was in the
looking at him
town.
intently,
Why is she
and
there?
And she's like nodding her head, like,
She's like,
yes,
yeah,
I am
it's like-
listening. I am actively listening to what you're saying. It's really bizarre. But my big problem with this movie as well is the fact that the third act, the first two acts of this movie, are really good, and then the third act is, okay, now we're reintroducing Gozer, we're reintroducing Zul, we're introducing the demon dogs, and then it's
Copy and
just
paste.
this. It's copy paste, yeah. It's like they had the balls to make this first two acts, and then they were like, oh god, it's Ghostbusters, and so they just were like, everything that's Ghostbusters, throw it out, put it in there. And so you just get the hits for the last third, and that's why I've given this 6.5, is because I think 1/3 of it, I can't in good conscience give this a 6.666 recurring, but 1/3 of this movie wound me up.
You literally could have just had, like, get rid of the demon dogs and Zul. No, sorry, Zul is the demon dog, and Gozer, and just have that little pit, and the ghosts get out, and the third act is trying to get them back in. Like, you could have them like they could be in the truck, and like you could have all the ghosts chasing after them. That's a really cool action set piece. Lead them back to the farm, then get them put in the boxes. You need no Gozer, no Zul.
That would then make sense as to why there are so many traps. Because
Exactly.
the entire ground is covered in traps. There's loads of ghosts, so yeah, there's loads of traps.
And also there are loads of ghosts in town, but they only have like 2 shots of them. You don't see how the other people in the town react to it, so it's not as like, oh no, the town's in trouble. There's some ghosts in town. They'll be fine. That's what it is. Like, compared to
Dupsy.
exactly compared to the first Ghostbusters, you're like, shit. There's a giant marshmallow man who could probably step on them. This it's like there's some see-through effects and a guy in a skeleton suit in a coffee shop. You know, they'll be fine.
He seems lovely. He just wants some coffee.
He did just want some coffee. I think the action sequence where they're chasing that ghost that's not Slimer is really
Muncher,
cool.
I think.
They do call him
Muncher.
Muncher. Yeah, I think that's really
Isn't that Josh
cool.
Gad? Apparently it's Josh Gad.
Right. Another trip to IMDb. Christ. Why
Also,
are you making
J.K.
me so much
Simmons-
Trust
work?
me
J.K.
by now.
Simmons
Why
is in
don't
this
you
film.
trust me by now?
Why is
Yeah,
J.K.
J.K.
Simmons in this
Simmons.
film?
Really weird cameo from J.K. Simmons. Very strange. It could because he gets ripped in half like instantly. It's so
That was
strange.
cool. That was cool though. Just like, oh yeah, thanks, bye.
I think
Muncher,
it would have
yeah.
been funnier if he was played by Rick Moranis.
There you go. Voiced by Josh Gad. There you go.
That's weird.
Very weird. Oh my god, Gozer.
Also,
For some reason, it's uncredited that Gozer was played by Olivia Wilde.
Did you
Did
not
you not know
realize that was Olivia Wilde?
What, the actual person there?
yeah.
Did you see her? It looked exactly like her. I don't know why it's not credited though. It's not credited.
Xander, you liked
'Cause-
my Letterboxd review, and it was about that.
No, but I read because my dad was like, "Who's Gozer in this?" And there's a credit for Spirit of Gozer, and it's someone called
Yeah.
Emma Portner.
The voice was done by something different, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the
'Cause the lip
voice is done
sync
by
isn't
someone.
quite.
Yeah, the voice is the voice is something separate. The voice is someone called Shore Agdashlu.
Maybe it was
butchered your name.
because in the well they have someone speaking. So I think that sounds different to her voice when she comes back. So there's two different
Right.
voices, I think, and then
So it's
But yeah,
so it's
Olivia
a-
Wilde's uncredited.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
I don't know why, because I was going through IMDb and I was like, Olivia Wilde's not here.
Yeah.
I
That's
have a
nuts.
question though. When they're in
Someone
that
is
little
attractive.
tomb and they're going through all the dates, there's a date after 2021, but they don't show it.
Yes.
So what is
No,
the
that's-
next event?
It's going to be
It's
2024.
21. No, it's 2180 something. You can see it. It's a bit dark, but you can see that it's 21 something.
Oh,
I also think it's
no.
really funny how that was initially meant to say 2020, but they had to CGI the zero to make it a one.
Yeah. I didn't realise.
Wait, so
Well, yeah,
what
'cause
with the
the
dialogue
film
then?
was-
Or was that like spoken off screen so they could ADR
Oh
it?
my god, it is Olivia Wilde.
Told you.
I'm sorry, I've got the picture up here, and like, oh my god, it is. That's crazy.
It is weird. She's just there as Gozer.
It's weird
Why
that
did
yeah
she
they've
do
got these two really big stars and like they don't really make a fuss about them. Olivia Wilde and J.K.
Yeah.
Simmons, and it's like
Fair
also
play.
we get
Yeah.
another crossover of Paul Rudd with Baskin Robbins.
We do.
I
I,
love
spotted that.
Do you think he's sponsored by Baskin Robbins by now?
Maybe.
Should be.
Yeah. Overall, this like the last third left a bad taste in my mouth, but the first 2/3 were really good of this. So.
I hope the sequel does its own thing and not try to, copy it.
The slide's
Oh.
back.
Oh no!
fucking
It's
hell.
it's got all the original casting again. They're all in it again.
I know, just do an original
Oh.
story. I don't mind if they're in it. Like, give them a purpose,
No,
but just
it's-
give them...
It's gonna be the first movie in the Ghostbusters franchise to not involve Ivan Reitman, who's the director of the
goodness.
first
That's
two.
not good.
He
Well, no, his son did this one, Joe.
his son directed this, but Ivan
whoops.
Reitman died last year. So
I think that is a
he-
fair reason to not be involved.
He's not going to be involved in the next one, but Jason Reitman will direct the next one as well.
Okay, that's
So.
consistency at least.
Yeah, but this one got kind of middling reviews. It got 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, that seems pretty low, but
That's harsh.
anyway, there you go. We did the Ghostbusters movie, and we'll probably do the next one when it comes out next March. How fun
Yay.
and
When
exciting!
in March? When in March?
March 29th.
Oh, I thought that was gonna be March. My birthday.
Do you really not want to dock your birthday? People might give you a happy birthday.
Oh, I might get like a Happy Meal or a little
Yeah.
birthday gift. I'm March 12th, by the way, guys. So
I'm 9th. I'm better.
And its
No, I'm
postcode
better.
is. Right. Okay. What is your favorite Ghostbusters movie? Let us know. I mean, I think we all know the answer. Let us know your thoughts by sending us messages on social media. All the links are in the description, or comment on Spotify because you can do that.
It's weird
Before we
that you
go,
do that.
Who wants to sell me a movie or a TV show or a game or a music or a book? If you're a nerd.
No, I like saying it. I'm not taking the mick. It's like if you're a book, if you're a nerd, you know? It's fun to say.
Okay, I guess I'll sell something. I finished watching all the Saw films.
Oh, are you happy to finish?
Oh wait, so you
Oh,
are
no,
doing
wait,
a
what?
recommendation?
Oh Christ!
Oh,
yes,
God.
I am doing a recommendation. I finished watching all the Saw films. That was actually a lot of fun. I would recommend going through them all because some of them are absolutely bananas, and like each one of them keeps trying to like retcon things from the previous one, and it's like, oh, you think that was all you saw, but actually then like 3 films later you'll be like, well, actually, if you just pan to the left a little bit, this character was there the whole time. And I think that is a really fun way to make a franchise. But that's not my main recommendation for the week. My main recommendation for the week is the movie Blackberry, which came out in UK cinemas last week. It's about the rise and fall of BlackBerry phones. You guys are probably a little bit. You guys are probably a little bit too young to have had Blackberries.
I had a Nokia
People in
brick
school
phone.
had one. I was
There you
the only
go.
one in school that didn't have one. I felt really left out.
Yep, for those couple of years, you probably did feel really left out, and then nobody had Blackberries anymore. And this is the story of how the company started properly producing phones, their peak, and then the day the iPhone was announced, and it's really good. It stars Glenn Howerton from. It's
Isn't
Always
he
Sunny.
really good apparently in it?
He's amazing in this.
That's the one thing I've heard, that he's really good in it.
He needs to do more dramatic work because this is fantastic. Jay Baruchel as well. A rare dramatic turn for him too. He's really good in this. I only know him from Seth Rogen comedies and How to Train Your Dragon, so this was a real breath of fresh air for me. I think the story's really good and interesting. As Joe said, riveting. It makes it riveting. And the writing's really good as well between the characters, especially between Glenn Howerton and Jay Baruchel. They've got a lot of moments together that mirror each other, and I think they're actually really good together. It's got really fast-paced direction. It's kind of like someone's filming it, but it's not a documentary. It's like like handheld format, not like found footage or anything. It's not that. It's just like single camera sort of thing, and I think it's really well directed, and the ending just crushed me. I never felt so guilty for having an iPhone in my life. Go on, Joe.
No, I was just gonna say, did the BlackBerry die?
It did, yeah. No, there was a.
Have you seen one in a few years?
Yeah, no. There was a pop-up card at the end that said, at its peak, BlackBerry owned 44% of the mobile phone shares. They now own 0.
Aww.
I know. I was like, as soon
Maybe
as the
this will
movie
be
ended
his
as
big
well,
comeback.
I pulled out my phone and I was like, you bastard.
Maybe they will.
I'm
come
writing
back
this
now.
review on my phone.
Yeah, literally. So yeah, it's a really interesting watch. So I'm sure it'll be on Netflix in a few weeks. And by the way, I forgot to mention earlier, The Exorcist Believer is coming on to streaming in 2 weeks.
Didn't it just come out?
Yes, it did just come out,
That
Suwan.
is
Yes,
so
it did just come out.
No,
It's
again.
that bad. It's that bad that it's coming out on digital platforms before Halloween.
Oh, can we see it when we're at yours?
No, I went to a local DVD shop earlier and found a couple of movies that could be viable options. I'm going to prepare some options and we can choose.
Ooh,
Anyway.
good host.
I am, yeah, thank you very much. That really
And
means
not
a
just
lot.
and not just of this podcast, Sander.
Stop it, you. Right, who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Go on, Suwan.
Right. What I'm going to review, and if it holds true for the next 5 weeks, I'm going to review it every fucking week.
Oh,
and that
God.
is Loki. Because I am sorry. That
at least
first episode.
That's our title now. This is going to be our most listened to episode in like 3 months because I'm going to title this Loki Season 2 review. Anyway, continue.
I will say, right? Do you remember I said a few weeks back after the Secret Invasion that they go up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
I
you did
was
say
I
that.
was correct. Can I say that? At least for the first episode, I was correct. Because that is one of the best things Marvel has put out in a... Like, I know Guardians just came out 6 months ago. I know. Right? So forget Guardians. That's one of the best things that Marvel has done in so fucking long. And it was such a relief. Because I was worried. Because I absolutely adore Loki. He's my favourite character ever in anything. Right? So I was worried. I sat there for the 50 minutes just like in awe at how good it was. And I was like, if this is how this show's gonna go, just don't let it down. I am begging they keep it going because I am just gonna be so happy.
It looked like they shot it on film. Like, it looked like they
It was
really put
grainy.
some production value into it.
It was great.
It
It
looked
was
grainy, yeah. It looked really great, and I thought the thing I it's a time travel show. Like that's how the first season was pitched. There was barely any real time travel in it. It was more about the multiverse. And in this first episode, it was like everything I wanted from the first season. It's like a fun time travel episode of television, which I thought was great. Like
It was
with the scenes with Key. OB, yeah. The scenes with OB were fantastic.
And Tom
it's
Hiddleston was acting his fucking heart out.
Yeah,
And
the
it made
clip
me
that's going
remember
viral.
why. It made me
Yeah.
remember why I fell in love with the character, Marvel in general. I'm just begging with all of who I am that they don't fuck it up. But if anything, watch the first episode because it's a fucking good first episode. So
Yeah,
that's
the
my
clip-
review.
The clip that's going viral of Tom Hiddleston like screaming about the Kang is really good. And yeah, I think it was a solid opening. So yeah, if you were kind of skeptical, this first episode sort of settles you in. I'll stay cautiously optimistic until we get a few more episodes. Because I'll be honest, I saw like at the end of the episode, Sylvie goes into a McDonald's, and I was like, God, no, I can't take more McDonald's. Like, they've really oversold the fact that McDonald's will appear in Loki season 2, and I'm like, I don't care.
And the post-credit
I
scene
don't-
said McDonald's will return in
Yeah.
Loki season 2. No, because it's good, because I watched it with my whole family, and then my dad came to me today and was like, Joe, is there another one out? I'm like, no, sorry, Dad, it's not till Friday. He's like, oh, no. So it must be good if it's getting
And also-
not the casual viewer in as well, who only watches certain Marvel projects.
Also, Twitter. I've only been on the good side of Twitter for this. It's lovely. I'm not
Yeah.
going through a tweet of somebody saying, oh yeah, and they're like, no, shut up. Everybody's been nice. It's so refreshing. I've missed that. I want them to go back to that. Go back to good Marvel. And they seem to be doing that after today's announcement. With
Yeah, that
actually
was-
planning the shows.
The fact, I
So-
know this is only a recommendation segment, but the fact that they don't have showrunners, you need them.
I'm
Why
glad
was
that
that
they're
not-
actually listening to people and changing
It's a bare
things now.
necessity.
Yeah, the simple bare necessity, and the fact that they sacked all of the creatives on Daredevil is nuts. That's nuts. That's crazy big news
Yeah.
that we didn't mention. LOL.
Yeah, that
But
was
no,
my
we
recommendation,
did.
Loki. The first episode of Loki.
Very good, very good. We'll keep us updated.
Yeah, I'll tell you if episode 2's worth it next week. Stay tuned, guys.
Joseph, round us off.
I don't really know.
Joseph's roundup.
All I've watched this week is Ghostbusters. But I did watch a film with you, Xander, which we mentioned last week.
Oh my god, I forgot we watched this last week.
And it's called Skyline. Now, Xander named this in last week's episode as one of the films that he found scary as a kid. And watching it, I kind of joked with him, like, oh, it was so scary, Xander. But genuinely, there are some bits that are really quite creepy. And although I only gave it 5 stars, Watch
Sorry.
it.
Wait, hang on. What did you say, Joe?
5 out of 10.
Joe just said I only gave it 5 stars.
Although I only gave it 2.5 stars, watch it for like basically the perfect visual effects.
Really good.
It looks so good. That's where all the budget went.
Crazy how good it looks.
And the score, the musical score, is amazing. Like it's not on Spotify, but I found the track on YouTube. And also the ending's really cool. It leaves it in like a great place, in that you're like, okay, I've seen enough, but like I would like to see more.
And there are more. There are 2 sequels.
And there are more, which I might try and hunt down and watch. But for what it is, if you want to watch a film that's like an hour 40, maybe doesn't look the best in terms of the stuff that isn't visual effects, but like you want to have fun, watch this film.
Yeah, I looked it up, and the budget for this movie was $10 million and 500 grand.
Oh,
And
God.
the 500 grand is what they spent on filming the movie. The $10 million is what they spent on visual effects.
Jesus.
I mean, it worked. It worked well because it
worked
really
really
helps to
well.
lift it.
Also, just a word of warning: the directors of this, the Strauss brothers, also directed Alien vs Predator Requiem.
Which is god awful.
Yeah, one of the worst.
But no, that's my recommendation.
A good recommendation and a good episode all round. If you've been listening this long, thank you so much for doing that. I don't know what we did to deserve it. If you want to hear more episodes, go back through our Spotify or whatever you're listening on, and look back at the old episodes, because we've been putting out some really good ones recently. So make sure you're checking those out, and to make sure you're keeping updated with everything, follow us on Spotify and subscribe on our YouTube channel if that's what you're listening on. And you can also head on over to any of our social medias and other websites. All the links are in the description. Thank you very much to you guys for being here. Joe, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Twits on.
I don't know that
I'll read
one.
that again. You can find me on Twitter at Cook11Joseph, YouTube Rebel Hoovian, Instagram Joe Cook _digital artist. At time of recording, I posted a new poster today, and if you would like a commission, do send me a message, and I'd be happy to help out. I'm also on Letterboxd, and you can find me in C1's following. I'm there.
Fantastic. And thank you, Siwan, for being here. And where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at C101, but I don't exactly post much on there. But I post very often because I don't really do much else other than watch films these days. So go check out my letterbox, which is C1Os. And yes, you can find Joe's and Xander in my following.
Yes, and you can find me if you just want to search for me and not deal with these other two. My letterbox is at the Real Xander LW, so go and check that out. I really put effort into my reviews.
So do I.
So do I.
I thought my one for Ghostbusters Afterlife was really.
I thought mine for Ghostbusters 2 was good.
Anyway, next week we're going to look at some horror franchises. We're going to look at the biggest ones and the ones that made the most money. Some of them may surprise you. ? Exclamation mark. Big red arrow. 10 things you missed. So make sure you're subscribed to the Filmian podcast so you get all the notifications about when that comes out. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Wow.